Hey, thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to move on our little model of improvement. Last time we got together, we were talking about what are we trying to accomplish, and we used this SMART aims as a way to define our goals clearly. Today we're going to talk about run charts, which will help us determine how we know that a change has an improvement. So a run chart is a very simple graph that represents the data in such a way to make process performance evident, visual, and it gives us a basis to determine whether changes have actually resulted in improvement. So the horizontal axis on a run chart is usually a time scale. We usually have days or weeks or months or whatever makes sense on the time scale of which your measurement is looking at. And then your vertical axis is the quality indicator that's being studied, either your infection rate, your fall rate, your readmission rate, et cetera. Now the measurement that we use to determine whether improvement is occurring is a median. So a median is the middle number inside of a set of numbers. And if you're not sure how to calculate a median, we'll talk about that in your coaching session. So this is what a run chart actually visually looks like. So again, at the bottom, time going from left to right is represented. And then the measure that you're looking at, your performance on the y-axis going vertically. And so by virtue of looking at the data over time, you can see there's variability. And then the median line, which is x with the tilde over it, is called the center line that we use. That should run right through the middle of your data points. Now that you've got the graph, you're able to say, hey, am I able to look at this graph to determine, is there anything that I can draw a conclusion on as to whether something has changed? So that's where we use run chart rules. Run chart rules are a great way to look at the data and then draw some conclusions. So there's 4 rules that we use in run chart rules. There's run chart rule number 1, which is a shift. If you have 6 or more consecutive points, either above or below the median, all of those measurements have to be above or below the median. You can ignore items that are on the median, but if you have 6 or more above or below, you can conclude that there's something that has occurred in your project that would have driven the performance one way or the other. Rule number 2 is a trend. If you have 5 or more consecutive points all increasing or decreasing, you can conclude that, hey, you've had something that has impacted your project, has caused some kind of change in your performance. Rule number 3, if there's too many or too few runs, if you get a signal that shows that over time that it crossed the median only once in the course of many data points. So not just, there's not 6 above or below, and there's not necessarily 5 or more consecutive or decreasing, but you cross the median line only one time. Rule number 4 is an astronomical point, meaning the data is way out of line out of all the others, and it's very evident from the data that it's visually something that's very clear that there was an impact externally on the data that caused that kind of change. So this is what they visually look like. So again, rule number 1, 6 consecutive data points either above and below. Those are circled on the graph there on the top left there. So you can see that there's 6 data points above on the top left. There's 6 data points that are obviously below the median on the other. You can say, hey, what caused that change in performance on those 2 data, in those series of data points? That can drive your conclusions around root cause and what did you put in place in your countermeasures that caused that kind of improvement or that change in your data. The trend line, again, 5 consecutive data points. Those can cross the median, but in this case, we got 5 data points that are consecutively going in order. Rule number 3, again, like I said, the data points only cross the median once. They're not all consecutively increasing or decreasing. Not all the data points are on one side of the median or the other, but you only cross the median once. And so through that data point, that series of data points, you can conclude that there is some kind of change that has occurred, some kind of impact that your performance has occurred. Last one, rule number 4 is an astronomical point, way out of line, evidently visually able to be seen that there's really a big change that occurred on that particular data point. So you can see how these run chart rules can be useful for drawing conclusions on how data is changing inside of the performance of your particular measures. And so I'm looking forward to next time. That's it for this session. I'm looking forward to next time when we talk about making changes.